welcome everyone to this presentation, Sustainability Auditing. Why sustainability is the next horizon in auditing. I'm Mike Richmond, your host for Exemplar Global's Excellence in Auditing Expo 2024. Today's session here at the Expo is going to be in the form of a kind of an extended conversation between myself and Ben Marshall. Ben is a Commercial Director, Asia Pacific for Intertek SAI Global. And Ben and I are going to, Ben mostly, is going to explore the fundamentals of sustainability and its relevance to auditing practice. So Ben, thanks for joining us here at the Expo.
Thanks, Mike. Happy to be here.
It's going to be a fun time. This one's a little different from the other presentations we've done. As I mentioned, we're going to kind of have a conversation. So why don't you kind of get started a little bit and tell us a little bit about your company, Intertek SAI Global.
Beautiful. Thank you. So where you may have seen us before. So Intertek SAI Global, as the name suggests, is a global business. We've got a variety of subsidiary companies that you may have already interacted with, particularly Intertek Alchemy for those that are in the SaaS training learning space. We extend our footprint from Australia, Southeast Asia, Asia Pacific, from where I am, all the way across Europe and the USA, of course. So a couple of key competencies or things I'd like to sort of throw out there. We deliver a tremendous amount of training annually, over 40,000. We are the number one and quite proud of it, number one on exemplar global training provider in Australia. We've got a whole host of competency and depth in auditing, or supply chain, and also custom criteria audit programs, which we'll come to a little bit later as it relates to sustainability. Just to move on a little bit more, so if we sort of peel the onion back a couple of layers, so there are really sort of five pillars that Intertek SAI Global and Intertek more broadly is known for in the assurance space. The five areas: management systems. So a lot of the folks here on the call will be familiar with the quality, environmental, audit programs, medical devices. So very big practice, very solid practice, supported by commercial engine, marketing, and obviously auditing and technical resource. Sustainability assurance, it's relatively new. In different various jurisdictions, and there's various levels of adoption or speed of adoption around some of the sustainability items, which I'll actually explore a little bit more and focus a bit on sustainability. Product certification, so building infrastructure, personal protective equipment. We've got folks out there that are making sure that they comply to the regulatory environments in various cities, countries, and other jurisdictions. Food's obviously a massive one. We all consume it, and so we've got a very robust food safety programs, which covers the whole spectrum and gamut of food quality schemes. And learning. So learning, again, another major pillar of ours. We do a lot of blended learning. We do face-to-face learning. We do public courses. We do e-commerce learnings that you can take and manage at your own pace. So very much a holistic view of assurance. So it doesn't matter where you sort of intersect it, but we feel pretty confident that we'll have the means to be able to support a conversation with you and or your organization about it. So that's again a little bit more depth, but that's really around the audit and certification. So if I come to the next portfolio is really around our learning and course portfolio, which Exemplar Global might be familiar with, is very key distributor and supporter of. So on the left-hand side there is the delivery method, and as I alluded to just previously, there's a variety of different ways that we can support learning and development for attendees of our programs, and that's also a global capability, in person, in-house, virtual, online, which I alluded to, where you can do self-paced e-commerce or e-learning programs. And then we've also developed micro-learning. So for those of you that commute a lot to work on public transport, for example, or you want to kill some time, I've developed some courseware where you can take the half an hour you perhaps got available between home and office, and upskill in a variety of different courses, programs, and competencies. The course portfolios working, from right to left is extremely comprehensive, right? So we take a view of not only developing the courseware, which is your tried and trusted programs, your health and safety, your risk, your info security, but also some of those more emerging agendas around environmental management and sustainability. So that portfolio, combined with the method of really the client or the consumer's choosing, puts us in a really solid spot to help out and continue to evolve our offering out to the general populace out there. If I focus a little bit more now on sustainability.
Ben,
yeah.
can I interrupt you for a second there, because you mentioned environmental management and sustainability as
Correct.
separate things. I understood those more as being kind of one and the same. Is that not?
Yeah.
That's not true.
No, not necessarily. Well, and certainly my view, Mike. No, not one and the same. I mean, and there's this slide that I'll talk to depicts that ESG. Everyone's heard of ESG, means many different things to many different people, and the easiest way of looking at ESG is really to separating it into its component parts, and we'll drill down a little bit later as to what some of those parts are made up, particularly around an auditing and a learning delivery looks like. But corporate social sustainability. So, really, what are we doing about making sure that our statements we're putting out there as corporations are actually doing the right thing? Who's doing the checks and balances of those statements they're putting out, both in a local jurisdiction, but also globally. So if you're sourcing materials or got a workforce that is globally situated, what mechanisms are you deploying to make sure that is robust, and you've got your governance in place for that? Environment, obviously, we're all very conscious of global warming and some of those other parameters out there, but there is a bunch of different things which make up that environmental bucket, which we could look at everything from the water quality to greenhouse gas emissions and so on. The list is very extensive. Social and governance is really the focus on social around our people. Making sure aspects of modern slavery, which has been topical, particularly in a bunch of different industries. We don't have to call them out necessarily, but are we doing the right thing by our counterparts around the world to make sure that there is fair and equitable treatment of workers out there? Governance, making sure that, and I'll come to this in a little bit more detail a little bit later on, but I think this is where the audit conversation can certainly build in, is just say, so if an organization's going out there and undertaking its business as BAU, what level of confidence do we have that they're actually doing the right thing? What mechanisms do they have, and what mechanisms are there that they can deploy to make sure that there's some level of transparency around those processes? Does that help answer your question, Mike?
It does, yeah, and I appreciate that you kind of brought the auditors into it as well, because I think that's an important, obviously it's an important piece of this for the exemplar global audience, but for compliance in general. Yeah,
100%. And so, nice segue, Mike, is to well, what does this sort of really mean from an auditing point of view? So if again, this is just a very basic snapshot of where auditing intersects a lot of the ESG drivers, and as I said, this is an example of just four. But in each of these, there are some really clear mandates that are being meted out from various jurisdictions around making sure that companies are adhering to this and what they're doing about it. There's some really quite scary statistics of the numbers of people and environmental statistics that are affected by what we're doing. So it's our job to make sure that we are understanding what we are doing, and then ultimately what we're doing about it. So this whole area has been a really strong driver for second and third party validation. So in essence, it's asking us as an auditing community apply our intellectual property and our knowledge of these particular areas and prove that it isn't indeed the case, and better still, identify where there are issues and provide them being the company or the consumer means to actually improve and get things sort of back on track and to where they need to be and where they need to be heading. So just to build a little bit further on that, Mike, around sustainability auditing rather. So this is just a really simple snapshot around how we at Intertek SAI Global sort of apply a methodology around sustainability auditing, and that's obviously starts with defining. We still naturally implement a very much a risk-based approach. So in any scheme, you're going to have the higher risks to the lower risks, and we obviously prioritize those areas which are of the former. We look at robust frameworks. So Intertek SAI Global, we are aligned and have developed beyond some of the base standards and audit mechanisms to come up with our own, which is providing a bit more of a robust offering or more holistic offering based on customer demand. So SMET is an awesome, great program. We've taken that couple of notches further based on a client need and requirement, where they're looking to broaden that, those SMETA ethical audits into something which is a bit more robust and intersects with other areas of risk in their organization. The other ones which I think, and I'm sure you'd know and be sort of more familiar with, Mike, is around the FSSC 24000. It's coming out. These have been ISO certified social programs. So as much as we like to customize and build on some of the core programs, there's certainly more, an evolution really around a lot of these certification standards to pick up some of these sustainability agendas that we're seeing today.
And what? Maybe you're gonna. Oh,
no,
I was gonna ask you about that. So I was gonna just jump in and ask you about what you guys are doing actually in this space, but I'll let you go right ahead.
No, sure. No. So what do we do in this space? So we 100%, we audit and train auditors like the audience that are attending the expo today, but also in a localized business, making sure that, be you an auditor, be you a chief risk officer, be you, looking after compliance, that we are providing you tools in order to upskill not only yourself, but your workforce, and therefore your organization to be a better corporate citizen, and make sure that you've got that independence and governance. And working from left to right on this slide, I won't go to all of them there, around energy use, human rights, labor practices. We've covered some of that already, but some of the emerging ones, particularly in the market that I'm in at the moment, Mike, is around greenhouse gas and recycled content verification. So like you go to any supermarket out there, and you've got fruit or biscuits or anything in a plastic bag or a container which is plastic. How much of that is recycled? What does it say about the organization that's packaging it? Where did they get it from? And then you can look at the whole supply chain, Mike, around, well, how is actually things sourced at their origin? Greenhouse gas, an obvious one. Spend a lot of time in Southeast Asia, right? They've done a tremendous job in trying to, get on top of greenhouse gas. Pollution's still a very big issue in this part of the hemisphere, as it is in other parts of developing economies. Supply chain assurance technology. So again, we're taking that step from some of your more traditional and training delivery mechanisms and overlaying some pretty neat technologies and SaaS platforms, which is your software as a service platforms, to help aggregate what is a very large data set. So if you're familiar with any of your big, your big listed companies, be they in retail or it could be anything, right? they'll have their immediate supply chain, but then they've got supply chain under that supply chain, and then the supply chain under that supply chain. So the ability to audit, train, aggregate that data is something that Intertek SAI Global has made some fairly significant investments in, to help make those dashboards and those decision-making processes a lot easier. Social compliance, I talked a little bit about on the prior slide, but continues to be a major driver of organizations, particularly around regulatory frameworks which are rolling out in this particular region around modern slavery and those sorts of agendas. Just to build a little around what else we offer. So this is really focusing on our training programs. So you can see the ESG, the environment, social governance, and then we've also just added another piece there around our business efficiency areas, which is more of our traditional service offering. So there's a plethora of opportunity for people to get involved and get themselves up to speed with what's current, and again, you can sort of see just under each of those environment, social, and governance areas, some specific courses which align themselves most strongly against each of those particular criteria. We, of course, continue to evolve the industry, and this agenda continues to evolve. It's highly dynamic, and as those things come to fruition, we obviously got the opportunity here at Intertek SAI Global to work with our technical, our program developers and people that you're familiar with, Mike, to make sure that we're staying current and we're staying ahead of what the topic of conversation happens to be at the time. So that's a little bit of a summary of us as an organization, but our focus very much on audit and training, and how that is continuing to intersect more regularly and more deeply and broadly in organizations, particularly around sustainability. So if sustainability in any way, shape, or form hasn't touched you yet, I can guarantee you it's at some point and sometime in a very short space of time, it will.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail right on the head there. I think it's definitely it's been here for a while, but it's becoming more and more prevalent in industry and various elements of industry. As you were going through that presentation, I didn't want to interrupt you constantly, but I did jot down a few questions as it was coming to me. So kind of focusing back on the auditing piece of this again, because of course that's our audience, and those are the folks that are watching us right now. Primarily, talk a little bit about the kind of within the space, the internal audit, the first party versus the supplier, second party versus the CB third party audits. What do those look like? What do those skills look like? Because I think there's people in our audience that are in various parts in their careers that might be interested in doing this and looking at it from those various first, second, and third party audit perspectives.
Yeah, great. Thanks for the question. So we're all familiar with our ISO standards, and I mean we can pick anyone's of the ones that we've talked about today. The opportunity in second and third party audits is to really be that genuine partner of the organization and driving and helping them get to their ultimately their goal, and doing that in a highly customized way. We often find that a quick service restaurant is probably an example, Mike. So a quick service restaurant will have your base standards of HACCP training. It'll have your a variety of food schemes, whether they're GFSI or others. But that's often not tailored enough to what they really want in terms of an outcome, right? And so the opportunity is to continue to, if you've got a baseline of experience and let's say food auditing, is to get very much involved in be that through a training or learning intervention, or starting a conversation with a certification around some of the second party audit programs that we're currently delivering. So beyond getting involved in that conversation and being that genuine partner of those organizations and taking them to their customized next step in terms of the quality that they want to adhere to. Is just, again, that constant training in and around it. The engagement with the customer is almost one where you're very much an extension of their business. So second and third party audit programs that we deliver, our auditors are often seen as the company they're actually auditing for, right? Albeit that they're independent. I think the other point I'd make on the second and third party is just the ability to scale, right? So we recognize that in order to deliver audits, particularly remotely or in further flung areas, that the bigger the network you've got, the more capability and the more stories you're able to tell and feed back to those customers. So I think that gives the customers a lot of that sort of flexibility to be in places where perhaps they couldn't if they were sort of operating in a more of a confined auditing construct, if you will.
And for those folks that are watching us who are maybe considering getting into this area within their careers, maybe they have more of a, I don't know, let's just say they have an ISO 9001 auditing background and they haven't really focused perhaps as much on ESG. What would be some of the, maybe there's technical skill sets that would be needed or special circumstances in your career that you might want to develop that would allow you maybe to play in this space a little bit more as a professional?
Yeah, so there's probably a couple of ways I could answer that, Mike. I mean, I'll speak specifically for our organization. I mean, we certainly look at what people have decided to study at college. Have they got a certain interest or pursuit or academic qualification that fits environmental or chemistry or engineering. It could be a bunch of different things, right? I think the other thing is it's very much. I would encourage anyone whose behaviors maybe he's just got a base 9001 audit. Is follow your passion, right? Follow what you're interested in. Auditing is. You'd know better than most, Mike, but auditing, you can audit pretty much anything, right? From fruit on a shelf through to aerospace parts, right? And pretty much everything in between. So I would encourage anyone that is interested in or has a particular interest, and I know we're focused today on sustainability and the environment and those sorts of things. I mean, if that's something that you're passionate about, the auditing and learning pathways would be, have got ample, I think, means for you to be able to develop those interests further. The last comment I'd make is that, we spend, a number of months training up our auditors. So you can come in to an organization such as Intertek SAI Global with a base 9001 audit. We will make that investment over the course of 3 to 6 months and train you up, witness audits, get you familiar with what's going on. And as you would in college, right? You experiment with what you like and what you don't like, and invariably you find a fit that does. So best thing is, follow what you're interested in, and by all means, reach out to us, and we're more than happy to help those conversations along.
Well, it's a great field. I mean, it's definitely a coming place in the industry, as we mentioned, and it's one where there's going to be a lot of opportunities for people to work in their career. So definitely, I think it's something for people to consider who are out there watching us. So again, Ben Marshall, great job there. Really interesting session about auditing and sustainability for all of you out there who are interested in management system auditing and sustainability. Check that one out. You see the email address right there. I asked Ben a few questions. If you have other questions for Ben, you can write them right there, or you can write us at info@exemplarglobal.org, and we'll get them right over to Ben or our other speakers. And if you've checked out this session and the other sessions of our expo, you, of course, can claim CPD. So just go right on our homepage right here, our player page, and just go ahead and claim your CPD for this session. We hope you'll do that and check out the rest of the sessions here at our expo. So Ben, again, thanks so much for doing that. Great job today. And I think you gave all of us a lot to think about. So really, really, really appreciate that.
Yeah. Good deal, Mike. Thank you for your time.
Thank you all. And thank you all for being here as well. We'll see you at the next session here at Exemplar Global's Excellence in Auditing Expo 2024.